Our next feature, come on up, Claudio, is Claudio Gaudio. He's a Toronto-based writer, born in Calabria. He studied literature and philosophy at York. Texas, a novel published by Quattro, is currently being translated into Spanish and excerpted by Francesco Loriggio to be included in an anthology of Italian-Canadian writers to be released in Calabria by Rubbettino Editore.
Rubbettino Editore. It's impressive.
His work has also appeared in Exile Literary Quarterly, Rampike, Literary Magazine, and Geist. And I have to say, I read this man's first novel, Texas, and I was really blown away. It's like entering Dostoevsky's underground or Kafka's bizarre world. It's about military espionage, prison soldiers, the Middle East, the States, multinational, and it's written in the most amazing philosophical prose that really becomes poetry. It's very postmodern, maybe post-structural, would you say?
Yeah, I would think so.
It's very.
My influences are deconstructionist kind of.
Yeah, it's very continental, and the whole book is like a standing wave. You read it, and it could almost be everything that has, and we don't have the narrator, the maker, doesn't even have a name.
No.
It could almost be that moment Dostoevsky was in front of the firing squad, that last, because it's like, the book is, it surfaces, it's like, I can't describe it, it's like a meditation as it's coming to an end.
It makes me want to buy the book.
No, it's a non-narratorial book, and yeah, no, really, buy it.
It's really kind of, I certainly couldn't give me that kind of explanation. I'm going to read from a work in progress, actually. The work is called Alibi. It's my second novel, about halfway through. So what you're hearing may change, but much of it will stay, I'm sure. When people ask me what's about, I tell them it's about a guy looking for a tomato. So Alibi. I'm fond of life, but death is the mother goat. Decades ago, I washed ashore, flew where I was carried. In due course, I learned to cook. At least that's how I remember it. A muddle, essentially, but less would have sufficed. The best recipes, I heard it said, are from the continent. But that may be the hunger talking, or what's left of it. It was worse in the winter. Boundless is how I describe the march from the bed to this chair, from what I say to what ails me. I position myself, poke, prod, to receive my instructions blindly, so as not to impede my progress. The old countries are less important now, cathedrals and a few aqueducts that still carry water. Maps mostly bloated and choking on the old narrative, and before the advent of much smaller furniture. Thank God for Sweden. The camps have been outlawed. Perhaps I'll go back there when I am done failing, spend my last days in a country that keeps its appointments. Berlin, I hear, is a good place to be bitter, and so is Lithuania. The task, as I've understood it, is to state the pauses. The story will take care of itself. Where I've been doesn't matter. And I'm here now, or so goes the argument. Chorus, in my view. It's clear that my absence is gaining. I live in a large northern cities where I spend the winters hunting for a good tomato. I sometimes pretend it's Paris, the city, of course. A tomato is just a tomato, but we'll get to that later. I prefer living in places I've never been. It's so much easier to change the scenery. Oceans, real ones, tend to slow me down when I must get there soon, for example. Paris was where I needed to be in my last book. Now is the problem, the initial privation, the tearing, essentially, but I'm not a philosopher. To the best of my recollection, nobody got out alive from that book. So clearly, this is a different work altogether. In any case, that city is the same, chestnut trees and cafes. I'm older now, and my gathering demise is but one of many obsessions, as are the dishes. I wash them soon after each meal and before I go shopping. It's better than taking down the mayor, for example, or shooting up a hotel full of bankers. I can distract myself with whatever is available. I'm lucky that way. The past participle or the morning shower, but not daily. When it comes to hygiene, I'm still European. Breeding ensures us a place at the table, helps us to see things in general. Culture, broadly, is why we envy the English and ambush the Iroquois. But that was a long time ago, and on a subject that must for now remain unrelated. I'm out of oatmeal. Notwithstanding, this morning was like any other, and so was the murmur. The difference between it and my erection is one will still be here when I am done at the flailing. Speaking of the unattainable, of wallowing in general, Scriabin played the piano, and not literally, of course. He's been dead for more than a century, and he was crazy. God by any other name is what he was playing. There never seems to be enough room for his immensity. Scriabin's, that is, God is much more transparent. I made coffee, and a few hours later I had a bowl of cereal with blueberries and yogurt. I have no issue with yogurt. Excuse me. After the morning meal, I washed the dishes. Note the consistency. Purchased from various and sundry second-hand shops. Vintage, if you live in the gallery district. Every day I do something familiar. Touch every cup and bowl, and rotating them attenuates my immobility. Nothing succeeds like the plural. Some wiser than I have called this living. They are survived by the cutlery. I was on a roll, in a manner of speaking, reveling in my forgetting, and the day was finding its repetition. Half notes mostly, pranks from the pot drawer, puns in the pantry. I used them to turn statues into clay again, and talking out loud. In a speaking without knowing, there is still the hint of form, the stench of a self. There are things I can't bury. I learned that in therapy. It is a good idea for the mind to find its body. That's how I know I'm not a hedgehog. The soul is of no help at all. After the fall, it hightailed it to China. Now it's a butterfly or an ox. But in the West, its absence is thriving. Empty is because it's unbreakable. As I walked up the stairs to my study, I knew all I had left to do was make sense of the buzzing, but I don't think I'll be able to finish. These words do not reference what is being said. They are, however, the words that are needed now. Yesterday I pulled down a star, hung it from the ceiling, and painted it silver, then I painted over it, after which I made myself a sandwich. I swear it's still there, the star I mean, merely impossible, it need not be here to appear. The sandwich is just a detail to help me remember. What better than food to mark the insoluble? That's how I reason. I prefer eating to anything, and anything to people. I'm doing all I can to delay their arrival. My friends in particular, I don't answer the phone or the door in case they do or don't call respectively. I'm 7 feet tall in the story I'm telling, but that may not be the story you're reading. I was wrong to think there's always a there and a when. when there's no one left, for example, to run our schedules. But what is not true will be knowledge again, and the earth will return to its aimless drifting. But first, empires will empty their warehouses into the water supply on the other king's head. After which Avion will step up production, an unusual moment or an age-long cycle. It takes a disaster to create a market. The regular army will come in with less dazzling technology and plenty of chocolate. The confectionery will help them discern child from a sack of potatoes. A potato, apparently, will not be persuaded. Still, an early morning knock on the door, the loading and unloading of trains was not enough to suppress their invisibility. What I just said doesn't weigh anything, and there are no dragons in the immediate vicinity. It's about what people look like without their dimensions, but that doesn't mean they can't contribute new sounds to the language. All of this is a little ambiguous, missing, or at least forgotten. Dragons, say, have never existed, and that's why they're so scary. But there's no gap between a start and eternity. That's how I know those kids will come back as a flower or a tomato. From where I sit, the world begins at the sidewalk. Beyond that, 2 oceans and then Asia in every direction. Next to my desk is a large window with 4 panes and no shutters. They are sealed units. Double-hung windows trap flies. It's where they stop to rest, and by rest I mean die. On the other side of the glass are 3 Norwegian spruce trees. All day long they are traversed by squirrels, and birds come to perch. We do not speak, or the time of our speaking is past. Conversations with squirrels, rodents essentially lack seriousness, and a bird will descend on a phrase at several meters per second. And that's just too fast for us humans. I like to step out with a long, sharp object. I wouldn't want to stumble on a death without redress. Between this world and the next, there's a secret, but knowing it would only put out my eyes. I live in the heart of the city, though I've been known to revise where that is exactly. An enclave adjacent to all the main hospitals, to delay the death that was mentioned previously. Chinatown, basically, because I can't read the signs. To the east is my favorite market, to the north is this town's great big university. My son attends classes there, so I'll know what books to mention or for some other reason. I am in good health, statistically speaking, halfway there, which by my calculation is here. Still, there's no reason to moan. Capitals have fallen, and some would say there's been too much killing. I can neither grasp nor confirm it. I can only configure the alibi. There are rules, after all, and timing is paramount. Well and good for the living, but the dead have stopped listening. If only there were a place in between, a few from each generation returned from the ether while we're still here to receive them. What could be so important they can't visit their grandkids? Personally, I prefer smaller eternities, the distance, say, between me and a cucumber. At the end of each day in the palpable dark, I walk to the store. Before I make my way home, I stop for coffee, sort words or sugar granules that fall from my spoon before I hurl them to destinations unknown. Oh, the places I've been are not worth mentioning. Saskatchewan, for example, but I didn't learn anything. All through the night I could hear the dogs howling. When in Rome I pretend I'm in Saskatoon. What happened there is just below the surface, and what happened before that doesn't matter. In the eternal city they use scaffolding to disentangle the bodies. Whereas in Saskatchewan they don't know a column from a cannoli, and if they did, they wouldn't call it breakfast. The night is a canopy. I built it to shield me from heaven while I forage for strawberries and cheesecake and cucumbers, of course. a routine that ensures my equilibrium or not, which is much less disturbing. I've worked hard to remain unemployable, below the radar. To be clear, this country is safe. No one I know has fallen from a sniper's rifle, and not since 1970 have tanks roamed the streets. That was in French, and I don't speak the language. This city, this city in particular is where death goes to sleep. Doctors are free to hit and miss while the patient contemplates the nod in their hospital gown. There are a few calamities that break the skin north of the 49th parallel. Not to suggest we don't support death in general. The government has our proxy, scalable of course. Lord knows they can deliver the numbers. But as with death everywhere, cost is a factor. All of this plus $1 will get you a coffee, so long you don't buy it at Starbucks. Given time, I'll flush out my thinking. I'm sure there's a worldview in it somewhere. Then I will temper the screaming with a nod or a question, prick the air with my index finger. I am so tired of not knowing anything. Thank you.